It's Thursday, August 26. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. A flash flood warning is now in effect for low-lying and flood-prone areas of central and eastern parishes. The Meteorological Service of Jamaica says flash flooding has been observed. A flash flood warning is issued when a flash flood is imminent or occurring. Residents living in those areas should be ready to move immediately to high ground. Motorists and pedestrians should not attempt to cross flooded roadways or other low-lying areas as strong currents are likely. The flash flood warning was issued by the Met Service due to the heavy rains being produced over Jamaica by a tropical wave. It's forecast to develop into a broad area of low pressure southwest of the island on Thursday and linger through to early Saturday. According to the Met Service, Jamaicans should expect an increase in showers, thunderstorms and strong gusty winds during this period. The effects of climate change on agriculture are affecting Jamaica's food economy. Climate variables including high temperature, heavy winds associated with tropical storms, and excessive rainfall are negatively affecting Jamaica's banana and plantain sector. The sector has been given an injection of funds by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Marlon Samuels reports.
The changing climate is having far-reaching impacts on Jamaica's agricultural sector and could affect the country's food security in the future. The effects of climate change has resulted in reduction in food production and increasing food prices. Jamaica has been trying for years to weather the effects of climate change on its banana and plantain sectors. Extremely high temperatures can result in losses of bananas and plantains due to sunburn. Excessive rain results in physical damage. It also delays planting and harvesting of the fruit. Heavier winds can shred the leaves of the trees and uproot the entire plant, resulting in the loss of fruit. Preliminary reports on the effects of Tropical Storm Grace, which tracked over the island on August 17, resulted in Jamaica's banana and plantain sector in St. Mary and Portland taking a beating from the heavy winds and rain associated with the system. Minister of Agriculture Floyd Green says approximately 29% of the sector was affected. On Wednesday, Mr. Green announced the provision of $50 million to the Banana Board to assist banana and plantain farmers whose fields were damaged during the passage of Tropical Storm Grace. Various options are being pursued to build a sustainable domestic banana and plantain industry, as well as produce banana in export quantity. One solution is the planting of drought and disease-resistant bananas and plantains to cope with the effects of climate change. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
The St. Thomas Health Department's team was unable to complete administering of COVID-19 vaccines at the health center on Tuesday owing to the volume of persons that turned up. The inoculations continued on Wednesday, but this time the exercise was moved to the Yalis Baptist Church.
Just take the first dose of Pfizer vaccine, and it was wonderful. So I can tell everyone to go out and get their dose. Okay? Because it is great.
Sagicor employees will be able to get their COVID-19 vaccine jabs on Friday, August 27 through the company's partnership with the Private Sector Vaccination Initiative, PSVI. Team members can register along with 4 others, family or friends, to get vaccinated with their first or second dose. President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, Christopher Zaka, says the primary concern is the overall safety and well-being of team members, their families, clients, and all stakeholders.
So the bottom line is, having had a vaccine drought because of the excess demand in the world for vaccines, Jamaica is finally getting to the point where we will have enough vaccines. And now the issue becomes, how do we convince our population to take the vaccine? And there are a number of strategies around that. The PSVI has its own approach to that in working in conjunction with government. And one of the approaches is for all of us as leaders in the private sector to talk to our team members, to really, hear their concerns. The choice is theirs. It's not something we can mandate, but we really would like to put the facts on the table.
Jamaica is experiencing one of its highest positivity rates since the start of the pandemic. Mr. Zaka, who also serves as chairman of the PSVI, says vaccination is significant to fight against COVID-19. Mr. Zaka was speaking at a recent virtual COVID-19 vaccine forum hosted by Sagicor. The Pan American Health Organization PAHO has announced the start of a new platform to increase regional production of vaccines. PAHO's director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, says the organization sees the need for this move because of the severe shortage of COVID-19 vaccines in the region. Melvin Pennant has more in this story.
In many countries, coverage is much lower. Just over 3% of people have been fully vaccinated in Guatemala, and a little over 4% in Jamaica, while vaccination campaigns have been further delayed in Haiti following recent natural disasters.
Dr. Etienne explains that limited production and unequal distribution of vaccines has compromised the region's pandemic response. She says only about 23% of people in the region have been fully vaccinated. PAHO sees the shortage of vaccines as a wake-up call for increased regional production of vaccines.
Delays in production have meant that many countries are still awaiting the doses that they purchased months ago. Some are left no choice but to rely on donations to immunize their populations. And while PAHO and COVAX are working to deliver nearly 12 million COVID vaccine donations from the US, Spain, Norway, France, and Sweden, these vaccines will not be enough to protect the hundreds of millions of people who remain vulnerable in our region.
She notes that the region, which has a long tradition of immunization, imports more pharmaceuticals than it produces.
A handful of companies produce all the world's supply of COVID-19 vaccines. Many of them are letting price and country of origin, not need, to determine how doses are rolled out. So much of today's vaccine supply remains in the hands of wealthy nations around the world. This limited production and unequal distribution of vaccines in the face of staggering demand hinder our COVID response, and they put public health in our countries at very high risk. Latin America and the Caribbean are especially vulnerable since we depend almost entirely on other places to produce the raw pharmaceutical materials, medicines, and health technologies that our populations need to stay healthy. Our region imports 10 times more pharmaceuticals than we produce.
PAHO is working with the World Health Organization and partners to bring the highly effective mRNA vaccine technology into the region.
The good news is that we are not starting from scratch. Today, 4 countries in our region are already involved in manufacturing COVID-19 vaccines, and Brazil and Cuba are producers of WHO pre-qualified vaccines for yellow fever and meningitis B, respectively. We must build on this legacy to protect our people from the threat of COVID and from future health risks. PAHO is already spearheading initiatives to help reduce our dependency on pharmaceutical imports. Together with the WHO, we are working to bring mRNA vaccine technology into our region. mRNA vaccines are some of the most effective vaccines against COVID-19. And the technology is highly adaptable. So it has enormous potential to be used against other viruses.
Dr. Etienne says PAHO is reviewing the most promising proposals from 30 companies in the region that have expressed an interest in the mRNA vaccine production. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
We now bring you up to speed with the latest financial market news in this quick business report. Motorists can expect a decrease at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and diesel effective Thursday, August 26. 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $152.68 and $159.43 per liter respectively, down by $3.06 each. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $141.15 per liter after a decrease of $3.06, while ultra-low sulfur diesel is down by $3.06 and is to be sold for $150.82 per liter. Kerosene decreased in price by $3.06 and will be sold for $120.01 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum decreased in price by $1.58 and is to be sold for $69.91 per liter. Butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $77.34 per liter, following a decrease of $2.23. Be on the lookout for price changes, as marketing companies and retailers will add their markup to these prices. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 3,054 points to close at over 412,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 95 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 41 declined, and 18 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 8 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Burrito Investments Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with over 5.1 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with over 3.7 million units, and Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1.7 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, August 25, the US dollar sold for an average $152.92. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $121.45. The pound sterling traded for $207.94, and the euro sold for an average $181.15. In market data for oil, prices fell on Thursday for the first session this week as renewed concerns about demand amid rising COVID-19 infections cut short a three-day rally and as Mexico restored some oil production. Brent crude futures dropped 0.87% to settle at $71.62 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude shed 1.2% to settle at $67.66 a barrel. Traditional wines are made with grapes, but there are other wines made with a range of fruit. In this week's edition of Culinary Trails, we learn about eating clean and a papaya wine being made in St. Thomas, Jamaica.
I went away for a while and had a restaurant for a number of years in Philadelphia and had health challenges and said the best thing to do is to come back to Jamaica because I know I can get clean food here. And I realized I had to also go and grow my own food. And so in growing our food, we had to get other people involved because I couldn't grow everything I wanted. And so we collectively came together and started to grow more clean food and then decided to have the farmers market in Kingston. So the market itself is 6 years old, but this is our first year at Hope Gardens. In this beautiful setting, we get a chance to be in this historic park and bring clean food and talk about the environment and just be able to demonstrate all the wonderful appropriate technology and all the good healthy living lifestyle choices that you can make. Everything that we're putting in our body is really plant medicine, right? So we kind of get a carrot or a beet or something and we're just maybe looking at it for the color, but it actually is a plant that is grown and there's something in that plant that is nutritional that's supposed to help boost our immune system or help our body. There's something in the soil, it picks up and creates this fruit and then we're consuming it. So when we talk about healthy living, it's like living in an environment in a clean space and being able to consume what is in your environment, that the things that you're growing, maybe it's a tea, maybe it's a vegetable, maybe it's a fruit, and making sure that that product, whatever it is that you're consuming, is as clean as possible, because your body will know what it is and be able to synthesize and use it for what it is. So the work that we do here is to encourage more people to grow more clean food, no pesticides, no GMO, the way how nature intended it, and it's going to make sure that when we consume it, it's going to really help balance out or give us the nutrients that we need. So it's all about plant medicine right now. The papaya wine is a very amazing product. We got involved in it because we're now growing the tea leaves for it, because in the wine is not just a fruit but actually a leaf. And if anybody remembers when we had the chickpea, that a lot of people were using the papaya leaf as a natural remedy against that. So we became involved with that. We started working on growing the leaves for a tea, but also realizing we could turn it into a wine. So working with a group of people to produce that product. So it is a wine, but it's also a tonic wine as well. We use the papaya leaf and the papaya fruit to make the papaya wine, because it also raises the T cell count, and there's lots of research that's done on it. So it's not just a wine, which is a beautiful wine, but it's also a tonic as well. So we're really encouraging, and it's also grown in Jamaica and totally manufactured and made in Jamaica, which we're really excited about, because a lot of time we're importing these things, but we have the capacity and ability to make these also really amazing products. And so we're just really encouraging our farmers to, take the next step, because we can grow the product, but we want to be able to create value-added products so that we too can be in supermarkets and also for export as well. We just are very excited about more people moving towards a cleaner lifestyle and understanding that food is a medicine. And our work here is really to make farming sexy again. So we want to encourage more people, young people, to go into farming, because people, we don't want to go into farming and that kind of stuff. But we have to eat every day, and we are very in tune that Jamaica needs to produce more. We're importing too many products that we don't know where they're coming from, how they're grown. But if we can get more people growing food, and they can see that they can also come and set up farmers markets across the country where they can have a direct contact with the consumer, so you can see who's actually growing your food. So right now, the best thing that somebody can do is to know a farmer, make sure the farmer is growing things cleanly, encouraging more clean production of food, because we're now wanting to consume more clean stuff. And that's the way the world is going. It's the fastest growing sector, organic and regenerative farming. So we want more people to know about it and to go into it. And also to start to partner with all the chefs that's producing the food, that they should not only just be getting a product from wherever, but they should be concerned that when they're creating these wonderful dishes, that it is healthy and clean, and it's going to build people's immune system and work with the environment as well.
Now on to regional news. The increase in COVID-19 calls is taking a toll on the St. Lucia Fire Service. This according to the island's chief fire officer, who warns that the rise in COVID-19 pandemic-related infections are affecting the response to other pressing emergencies.
The sheer number of COVID-19 calls is putting added strain on manpower and resources of the fire service. The island surpassed 7,000 COVID-19 cases weeks after the July general elections. The fire service must not only perform their regular duties, but also attend to COVID-19 calls. Chief Fire Officer Joseph disclosed that the ambulances in the fleet have also run their course.
The spike has resulted in us responding to certainly more COVID calls. And that has, of course, put some added pressure on our staff, on our resources as well. Our ambulances, for example, are limited in numbers. The condition of some of our ambulances are such that they require replacement already. Some of them are in use. Some of them we have in use. There since 2007. Those ambulances we got at the time of the World Cup. And most of these emergency vehicles need to be replaced after 5 years. However, we try our best to make the best use of what we have.
In addition to the surge in cases, the fire department has been busy administering care to a number of victims of vehicular accidents. Joseph also revealed that the department is in need of new firefighters.
We are managing it differently now. And although we still continue to see a few of our officers contract the virus, but it's managed better. We've gotten some assistance from some EMTs, and that more or less has helped address some of our manpower situations. However, we do have a shortage of staff that we are trying to address. In the meantime, we're trying to get into, replacing those or filling in those vacancies that exist.
Joseph says non-adherence to COVID-19 protocols is making the job of the first responders a lot more difficult and diverting resources away from other emergencies. He is echoing sentiments of other authorities who have been imploring St. Lucians to abide by the measures to reduce the spread of infections.
Currently, because of the number of requests that we get for ambulance transfers, in many cases persons have to wait, so those calls are delayed, and in some cases these are very much emergency calls. So I think persons need to refrain from those unsafe practices. Just do whatever is being requested of us. It's pretty simple, like the wearing of masks. And many persons carry a mask, but not necessarily wear it. And we are hoping that we see more persons wearing their mask and wearing it in a proper manner. So the social gatherings, like it has been mentioned in several cases, the CMO has said it, the police and all of that. So I think if we behave a little more responsibly and take ownership of our own health and so on, make sure that we do the right things and encourage our families and friends and children and what have you to do the same, I think it will be much better for everybody, and we'll see a reduction in those cases.
Fire service members have also been stricken with COVID-19. The chief fire officer maintains that personal protective equipment have proven effective in protecting fire officers, and there is no evidence that service members have contracted the virus while attending to cases. Gina Filippi, HDS News Force.
In Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is assuring the population that government will discontinue the state of emergency at the first opportunity, even if the 90-day extension is granted on Wednesday. Speaking in the lower house, Dr. Rowley defended government's move to extend the SOE and by extension the curfew, saying it's only being done to suppress nighttime activity, which could cause COVID-19 infections to spiral. Sunil Lala has the details.
Government will discontinue it at the earliest opportunity, once we believe that that will not unnecessarily increase the risk and expose us to something that we don't want to be exposed to.
An assurance from the Prime Minister that the 3-month extension of the state of emergency may not last a total of 90 days. Speaking during debate on the extension in the lower house, Dr. Rowley sought to explain that infection numbers are still at an uncomfortable level and projections are showing that socialization should still be depressed.
The only reason why we are extending or asking for this state of emergency to be extended is so that we as a population, under the terms of the state of emergency as will be described along the way, will discourage the population from socializing at nights between 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning.
The Prime Minister notes that businesses have been saying that removing the SOE could assist them in nighttime shifts, but he believes curfew passes could easily be arranged for workers.
I'm sure that it can be arranged that all such persons can be authorized to go to work even during the curfew. That's easy to organize, and we've done that.
Dr. Rowley adds that this extension is being done for good reason to protect lives first, before any other stringent measures have to be taken.
The last thing we want is to be in a position where we are being called upon to lock this country down again to save lives, Madam Speaker.
The Prime Minister says with the Delta variant lurking, this country does not want to end up in a position where the hospital infrastructure is overcome with patients, saying TNT came very close to that in May and June, but the state of emergency helped to decrease infections. Sonolala, TTT News.
Today in sports, we put the spotlight on cricket. The West Indies slumped to a 109-run defeat in Tuesday's test match against Pakistan at Sabina Park. This resulted in a drawn series with the visitors following the regional team winning the first test. Tuesday's defeat again raised the issue of West Indies batting. Lead selector Roger Harper expressed utter disappointment in the output of the West Indies batsmen. Akeem Green of Newsroom Guyana has more.
Set 329 for a victory and entering the final day with 9 wickets intact, West Indies slumped to 219 all out. It meant in 4 innings in the series, West Indies only surpassed 250 once. The home side's bowling continues to impress, but they really had runs to play with. Harper, speaking Tuesday evening on the Barbadian radio program, Mason and Guess, re-emphasized the need for the batsmen to step up.
As I've said since, prior to the Tour of England, the thing is for our batters to put runs on the board. Once we do that, we're going to be very competitive and give ourselves a chance of winning test matches. We haven't been able to score sizable totals consistently, and thus, we're always behind the 8 ball.
Harper also addressed the drop in form of Kyle Mayers and Nkrumah Bonner and why they kept faith.
They performed in Bangladesh, but they also performed against Sri Lanka and Antigua as well. I think everyone more or less struggled against South Africa. And coming into the series against Pakistan, Bonner managed to spend some time in the middle in the best v best game. So it wasn't an issue with selecting him again because he looked the part, he looked good, spent some time in the middle, got a score. That was it. But Doc, while we single out Mayers, and Mayers I think had a very torrid tour here, torrid series, and it continued from South Africa. I think, apart from someone like Jermaine Blackwood, who made a half century but got, a number of starts, I think our batsmen found it difficult. Generally, the captain played an excellent hand in the first innings of the first test, making 97, which I thought really was the rock on which that victory was built, even though, we focus on the 4th innings. But generally, our batsmen, never really took charge.
How does West Indies solve the problem? The former head coach had this to say.
Our whole process of developing players, we have to look at, whether we're equipping them with the right technical skills, whether we're equipping them with the right, whether they're acquiring the right mental skills as well, and tactical skills to cope at this level. And there's nothing, Andrew, like having the habit of making big scores.
Right, that's true.
I look at someone like a Chris Gale when he started, when I was coach in 2000. Right, he started playing for West Indies, and there was a lot of talk. Everyone, and I mean, it was obvious to see as well that his technique wasn't great, didn't move his feet much. But what we saw in a Chris Gale is at every level he played at, he had made huge runs. So he knew how to make runs. So you had the belief that he would find a way and overcome. And I think throughout his career, he's proved that he knows how to make runs. And I think that is one of the things that also that our players have to develop. It has to be inculcated. From an early age, they get into the habit of making big scores, have that desire to make big runs as well, learn to fight through the hard periods, and come out at the other end with a big score.
Additionally, West Indies coach Phil Simmons has put the onus back on the team's batting to be better at assessing conditions after they again struggled to build substantial scores against Pakistan, although he insisted there are some signs of improvement. For the newsroom, Akeem Green.
And with that, we call an end to today's newscast. For more news and sports, join us tomorrow at the same time and place as we do it all over again. You have just watched the news on PBCJ, the People's Station.